activated.
Hey, what's going on? One Truth here, and I got a special segment coming right to you guys. So, upon request from the Elder Scrolls Alliance, which is their website, if you click the bottom left hand corner there, it'll take you to their website. They have a summer build competition, and I was asked by the Guildmaster to create a video in regards of theory crafting, and here I am going to deliver. So step one, you want to decide what you're trying to do. For example, you can create a PvE trial build, PvE dungeon build, PvP raid play, or PvP solo play. There's a lot of options that you have, and you have to decide what you want to do. Once you've decided, you can pick what class you want. For example, I like my Nightblade. I love being a Nightblade. And from Morrowind, I always played an assassin-based character. So that goes into step two. Step two, pick the race that complements it. For example, in PvE, you can get away with having an Altmer Magicka Dragonite and maximize your damage. PvP, not so much. It's better to have a Dunmer. As time goes on, you'll learn what races complement what. So once you've discovered what race complements the class that you're trying to build for the type of playstyle that you're trying to do, you can now go on, level him up, and once you reach that 160 threshold, you run into a situation. What do I do in regards to armoring my character? What sets? There's tons of things to look at. For instructional purposes, I'm going to do PvP solo-based Nightblade. Reason I'm doing that is because I'm on my Nightblade. As you see before you, my Grand Champion One Truth, which is my main. Now, I had to pick a playstyle that complemented how I played my Nightblade. And I really love having a poison build, so I looked on this website, and we'll go into that website right now. Alright, so it is the elderscrollsonline.wiki.vexturlife.com/sets. Or you can just Google ESO item sets and it'll be the first one you click. It's pretty easy. And it has literally every set archived, and you can go and look and kind of play around with ideas, and eventually you can go back and buy them. Now, moving on, there is another wonderful website that I would like to show you that if you're looking for overland sets, go to tamrieltradecenter.com, and you can do an event search, look for anything really. Now, going back to the game, after you look on the wiki and try to find a base set that you want to create your guy off of, you start adding stuff to complement that base set. For example, I chose Sheer Venom. Sheer Venom, 2-piece, 1k max stamina, 129 weapon damage, 129 weapon damage, and when I deal damage with an execute ability, I deal 10k poison damage over 6 seconds. So, fully buffed, it goes about 12,000. Now, keep in mind, that is my base set. So you want to create a base set. So, for example, if I chose to be a tank for PvE, a good base set that you can start out with, if I don't PvE, and this is going to show it, but Hissbark, there used to be, what was that? Hissbark and Footman. That used to be a wonderful complementing setup you can use in tank. Now tanking is a little different. I don't PvE much, and if I do, I'm on my Nightblade because, well, he is my main. Now, looking at it, I have Sheer Venom. What complements Sheer Venom? There's a few sets like Vice Cannon. Here's where trial and error comes in, and you have to be the deciding factor of what complements it. Vice Cannon, through trial and error, I've discovered that the heal that you receive from the poison damage takes you or prevents you from going into stealth, which doesn't work for my playstyle because I use Magicka and my stealth as a defensive maneuver and sometimes offensive. mostly defensive. So understanding myself and how I play helps me formulate and create other things that complement my set. So I tested out last patch between Hundings and Vipers, ultimately because it was a proc set, Vipers did more damage. Well, come this patch, they changed Viper. So you also have to keep up to date with the sets and some of the changes. So with Viper being nerfed, today I had to go and look at what would make my Nightblade a lot better. What complements my playstyle and helps what I want to achieve. So I understood that I wanted to have a high burst solo play Nightblade. But I also want to have my regen about the same. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. I use Cloak and Magicka as a defensive element and my stamina as an offensive. So I know my playstyle. You want to find things to help that. So I chose Spriggans because there was a nerf to the sharpen trait on weapons. So it went from 5k to 2.7k, and Spriggans pretty much made up for that loss I had. It's not last patch Spriggans, but it's enough that it helps me play, and my weapon damage is a little bit higher than what it was last patch. I understand that, and I'm able to hit a lot harder. Understand what complements each other as well, regards of passives. Understand the passives. For example, instead of going a two-handed sharpened sword, I chose Maul because Maul, if you read the passive right here, if I go to weapon, two-handed, and it'll be heavy weapon. See, maces cause your attacks to ignore 20% of your target's physical resistance. So that complements the Spriggans and the sharpened trait. Now I'm also using a Master's Bow. A Master Bow with the Sheer Venom, because I'm using a poison injection to activate the Sheer Venom. The Master Bow, when I hit them with a poison arrow or poison injection, my weapon damage goes up by 301. So ultimately that helps. There's a few ways you can set up your build, but understand the main concepts of 5-5-1, which means you can have 2 5-piece sets and 1 1-piece set. You can go, technically, you can go 2-5-5 with heavy weapons, like two-handed weapons, but you're going to have to sacrifice. For example, on my Sorcerer, I have my Julianos on my front bar. So my Destro staff is Julianos, but when I swap over to my Resto staff, I no longer have that 5-piece proc of Julianos. Instead, I have the 5-piece proc of Lich. So it's kind of a difficult playstyle. Even here, I have it on my Nightblade. Instead of having the 5-piece Sheer Venom, or excuse me, the 5-piece Spriggans on the bow, I have the Master's Bow. But I'm not going to sit there and do a lot of my attacks on my bow. The bow is simply a buff bar. Understanding that increases my game a lot. Alright, so another concept that you can go 5-5-2, but you would have to go one-handed shield and dual wield, or at least have 2 weapons in each slot in order to do the 5-5-2. So there's a lot of things you can do to complement your build. But once you have the base set, the complementing pieces to create your build, and understand what you're trying to build him toward, like weapon damage, you got your recovery builds, you have your resistance builds. For PvP, crit resistance is a huge thing. So you'll see, for me, I have all N-Pin on my gear. So picking the traits is another big thing. So N-Pin, crit resistance, it's really hard to crit me in PvP. So a lot of that critical high burst damage is mitigated altogether. Yes, my resistances are a little bit lower, but that's fine. I understand that. But I'm a high burst Nightblade. So my weapon damage goes up to 4k. Say if I'm ganking, I'm at 4k already. It's beautiful. That does a lot of damage. Here soon, like I said, I'm going to do a Vet DSA. I'm going to get an infused Master Bow. To complement this, it would be a lot better. But that requires time and effort and patience, and which that requires you as a player to go through. And it's an experience. This entire game is an experience. But once you have it set up and you understand what you're going to do, Now it's time to pick werewolf and vampire, or you can choose not to do so. I choose vampire. There's wonderful passives such as Undeath, Deathstalker, and Supernatural Recovery. Werewolf has its own unique passives, and I'm not a werewolf on this, but vampire just naturally complements a Nightblade, so that's why I'm a vampire. Now, there's a few other things you have to keep in mind. For example, your food. There's a few different types of food, but remember earlier I said I like to balance my magic recovery and stamina recovery. I'm using Joel's Misrule. So, increase max health, stamina, and magic recovery. You always, in PvP, want to have increased max health. In PvE, you don't need recovery as much. You can go max that. PvP, you need max health and then recovery. That is pretty much, in a nutshell, how you want to build a character. Theory crafting is really fun, and I highly recommend it. But, you know what, guys? If you want, you can request to join the Elder Scrolls Alliance and put your name in that competition for that 2 million gold draw for the best build. Until next time, thank you guys. Hey, what's up, guys? If you like what you saw, you can click right here and subscribe. There are plenty more content to come. Also, you can click right here and check out my latest video. So, thank you guys for watching.